Hey boys and girls, I'm here to show you the last couple parts to your cherry blossom painting. So my tissue paper is dry on my cardboard, and what I'm going to do real fast is, now that it's dry, it's actually safe to trim the edges. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors and carefully trim the edge of all that extra tissue paper I had. Now that it's nice and dry, we're going to add the branches of our cherry blossom tree and, of course, the cherry blossoms themselves, which are oh so beautiful. Now, remember, that moon that I added was optional. Some of you might have chosen to do something else like stars or even a sun if you had some different colored tissue paper, anything at all. So there are the edges, nice and trimmed, ready to go. And this is what you're going to need. So we're good with the scissors. You're going to need black paint, white, and you could use either red or purple to kind of get that pink purple color of the cherry blossoms. And you're only going to need a little bit of each. I would put a little bit of each on a piece of scrap paper or even on something like a paper plate or anything at all that you don't mind throwing away later. You're also going to need a paintbrush and a little bit of water. So I'm going to start off with black. The black is going to be for our branches. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of black paint on there. And remember, you can always put more later if you would like. Now, people have asked, like, can my painting go this way? Can it go that way? The answer is any way you like, because it's yours. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start. And I'm going to go ahead and start very close out in the edge. And I'm going to start with my branches. And I always tell people branches are just wavy lines. And the trick is, as they get closer to the tree, they get wider. So I'm going to fill in this branch. Now, if you notice your tissue paper is kind of lifting up or something doesn't seem to be sitting very flat, you might want to let it dry a little bit more. If it's not all the way dry, that might mean it's not all the way dry. Or it might mean you need to add just a little bit of extra glue next time. So there's one branch, and I'm going to do maybe 2 or 3 big branches. So I start with a wavy line, not too wavy, and then as it gets further back, closer to what would be the tree, it's going to get wider, and I'm going to fill it in. Now, these are the wide parts of the branches. These aren't going to be the parts that hold the cherry blossoms. So there are 2 branches. Now, if you've been using a big brush, I would try to use a small brush for this next part. I'm going to start adding little lines coming off my big branches to show the smaller branches. And these are where my cherry blossoms will lie. I'm going to add a couple on each one, and if I want, I can even make, say, like a medium branch coming off my big branch to make it a little bit more interesting. But again, you can do it however you'd like. Just get those little lines in, and don't forget about your other branch. Now, the next part is going to be doing your cherry blossoms. Some people like to wait until the black is dry. And I usually recommend you do that. I say it's usually best to wait until the black part is dry. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to clean my brush and make sure my brush is very clean. I will tell you a little secret. I actually like to use a Q-tip for my cherry blossoms, but some people don't have those laying around. If you don't, that's okay. You can just use a paintbrush. You're always going to need a little bit more white paint than red. if you're going for pink. Now, if you're using purple, same thing. You want more white than purple because you want to get that light color. So I'm going to show you with a Q-tip and a paintbrush. So I'm going to take my Q-tip and gently swirl it in the white and then swirl it in the red too until I get a pretty pink that I like. And I'm going to go ahead and dab little dots of pink onto my branches to make my cherry blossoms. And I want to make sure I scatter those around so they're evenly distributed, but there's not necessarily too many. I don't want them all over, but I definitely don't want too few. Now, let's say you're not going to use a Q-tip. I would use a small paintbrush for this. So that way, you can get little amounts of paint. Now remember, if you don't have red to get that pinkish color for cherry blossoms, you can also use purple. So I'm going to gently dab, and it's like little tiny dots onto my branches. And again, just be careful if your black paint is still wet because you don't want it to mix into your black paint. And there you go. And you could keep going with your cherry blossoms. You could continue to add more. You could add other details with paint as well if you wanted to. You could do, say, a bird in the sky, anything extra you would like. So I hope you guys had a good time with your cherry blossom paintings, and I'll see you guys next week. I can't wait to see your pictures.